Thursday, June 23rd edition of the Carolina Weather Video. I'm meteorologist Matthew East. Pretty good coverage of showers and thunderstorms on the way across most of the region today, and we'll talk about what the upcoming weekend looks like. I'll also hit on the tropics, some signs that we might try to see some activity down the road in parts of the Atlantic Basin. Again, I'll get into that here toward the tail end of this video. Let's start off with a look at all the storm reports from yesterday. There was a pretty mean cluster of storms that developed and really kind of started to develop in eastern Alabama, then really strengthened into Georgia, into the upstate of South Carolina, finally falling apart after bringing some wind damage up into the southern Piedmont and even parts of the foothills around Catawba County in North Carolina. Also a separate little cluster of storms over around the Sandhills. And then around Kentucky, you had what was possibly a tornado touchdown around the Louisville area, including around Churchill Downs, and there was some damage there at Churchill Downs, several barns and stables damaged during that activity yesterday evening. Now here's the radar this morning, already beginning to tell the weather story for us. This is a 5 a.m. radar image and a pretty good bit of rain and thunderstorm activity from eastern Alabama into Georgia, pushing into the westernmost upstate of South Carolina. And that's going to move right on up close to the Interstate 85 corridor, a little bit of an expanded view here. And that's going to continue to march into the region. And I think for the Charlotte, the Triad zones, we'll begin to see these showers and storms as soon as later this morning. And because of the pretty good coverage of showers and storms as well as their early arrival, we're only talking mid-80s for a lot of our highs this afternoon. So temperatures held down due to the clouds and the shower and thunderstorm chances. It's still a warm start. Most everybody in the 70s across our region until you get up into the mountains, and it's 60s this morning. And let me go through some upper air charts, kind of tell you what's going on. Here's the upper air chart for this afternoon. Pretty good chance for showers and storms with this trough just beginning to swing on in. Over the weekend, this is Saturday, not a whole lot to trigger any widespread thunderstorm activity Saturday, so it looks like maybe some isolated or widely scattered storms Saturday, but I still think the coverage increases a bit for Sunday and Monday as this disturbance tries to cruise on in. So there's Sunday evening and there is Tuesday. As that disturbance exits, the chances for rain begin to decrease again, and the heat increases a little bit for Tuesday and Wednesday, and it still looks like the core of the heat next week, this is out to Thursday, it's going to be over the plains. And while it'll certainly be quite warm around here, I don't think any extreme heat for much of next week. Now let's talk about today. The SBC Wharf, that 4-kilometer wharf, has been doing a fantastic job the past 2 days with the thunderstorms across our region. And here's what it's printing out. This is valid 21Z, so that would be valid at late this afternoon, right around 5 o'clock this afternoon. And looking at that clustering of thunderstorms from parts of South Carolina into much of the Piedmont of North Carolina. And again, I think it's on the right track. A pretty good opportunity for some showers and some thunderstorms around the region today. The GFS doesn't have much, but I think it's lost. Pretty good chance for scattered showers and storms today. Tomorrow, I do think a decreased coverage of storms, but I'm still going to word in the chance of an isolated thunderstorm coming up for our Friday, and probably much the same on Saturday and Saturday evening. But then we should see the coverage of storms increasing again here on Sunday and into Monday of next week before we might try to back off on the coverage of storms again around Tuesday. And then it looks like another front tries to approach by the time Wednesday arrives, and that would increase the coverage of storms once again. So really, it's the time of year where it's tough to really get overly specific with rain chances on a daily basis. But there'll be, of course, day-to-day fluctuations in that coverage of storms. Now let's talk tropics. All is quiet right now. No sign of any development here for the next couple of days. But almost all of the modeling is trying to develop something down toward the Bay of Campeche, the southernmost Gulf of Mexico. This is the Canadian, and it often overdevelops things, but it really goes nuts with this thing out at 144 hours. And let me say this, what it's doing is all the models are pretty much catching on to some type of slow development here in the westernmost Caribbean Sea that then moves across the Yucatan and into the Gulf of Mexico. So that is the Canadian at 144 hours. This is the GFS at 168 hours. Again, notice a broad low pressure in that same general area. No gaps, much the same, although it's a little farther south at 144. And European, the southernmost model, way down there by Mexico, and the southernmost Bay of Campeche at 144. So nothing imminently occurring. but there are signs that we might try to see something begin to brew down there in the westernmost Caribbean Sea and in the southernmost Gulf of Mexico as we get into next week. So we'll see how that unfolds. Maybe some signs of our first attempt at organization in the Atlantic Basin this season. All right, that is it for today. Have a great Thursday, and God bless.